Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie podcast. It might be a Monday, but now it's a fun day because we are back once again to talk movies, but not randomly talk movies. No, we actually have a purpose. We have a drive because we here at the United States of a Movie try to every week find one movie to define each state in the United States. We've been at this for a while, and I tell you what, it's a lot of fun, but it's not easy, and that's why I bring along two amazing movie fans with me. I am Ollie Pettigrew, massive movie fan, host of movie shows on Cinemax and HBO Asia back in the day. But these guys, they love movies even more than me. Fellas, welcome back to the show. First of all, Ryan Sander, buddy, welcome back.
As always, it's great to be here. And if you're sick of the all the hillbilly talk, or if you love all the hillbilly talk but hate all the incest, boy, do we have movies for you. God, I don't know where I end and my cousins begin. This was a week.
Wow, that was a good one. He's been thinking about that one all week. Yep, incest and cousins, that's where he's been all week. Let's see what's inside the mind of Will Hirsch. Will, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Great to be here. Incest and Cousins is my favorite country band, so
yeah, hell
yeah. Always excited to hear a reference.
Wasn't that was like Bud Light's slogan for a while?
Yeah, that's all those commercials.
Until they got all woke.
Yeah. What was their catchphrase? I like my beer I like my violence like I like my beer. Domestic.
And the hits keep on coming.
Cancel.
Like, yeah.
Again, we are not sponsored, guys.
I remember. I forget where this one's from, but the version of that I've always found the most hilarious, and I can't remember. But it's like, I like my women like I like my coffee, ground up and in the freezer.
Jesus Christ!
Wow!
Holy shit!
I know.
Well, this is a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Well, the reason we've got a little bit bonkers and a little bit weird at the intro is because so were the movies because of the particular state that we are attempting to find a movie for this week, because it's West Virginia. And it's, well, I mean, we don't mean to paint with a broad brush, West Virginia, but we have three movies, and each of these movies definitely features hillbillies. Different types of hillbillies, but hillbillies for sure. We'll start off with the movie that I brought to the table, a movie that, honestly, again, when I came up with the concept of this movie podcast, was one of those movies that I go, oh, West Virginia's got this movie, and this is the 1999 movie October Sky. I got a soft spot for this movie. It's a great movie, directed by Joe Johnston. He's been on the show before because he directed Jumanji. He also did Captain America, The Rocketeer, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Chris Cooper, Laura Dern, and other people that you find very familiar. The guy that says Rent from Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Dickovich.
This was the only movie in the series I hadn't seen. Like, I'd seen Vanilla Sky, I'd seen Skyfall, Sky Captain in the Worlds of Tomorrow, Sky Kids 3D,
Skyline 2.
Yeah. But this one eluded me for some time.
So what did you guys think? Because I actually really like this movie. I think it's a really cool story, but I was watching it. It's so fun. Like I said, we say it all the time, but I was able to watch this movie like I'm watching it the first time, but I'm watching it as Ryan and Will. I'm like going, oh no.
Which arguably the only way to watch a movie. And I was watching this movie knowing you were watching it and watching it through my eyes. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna tear this fucker apart. But I actually ended up enjoying it. So
I told you would. Like, yeah. I knew you would enjoy it. But when
every one of these movies, you're like, you're gonna cry. I'm like, when were you crying during this movie? And then towards the end, I'm like, oh no, Laura Dern, no, Hodgkins, it's back.
Because this is a good movie, but like I said, I was watching it and I realized I watched it through. I put on my Dewey Cox glasses, and it started hitting all the Dewey Cox moments, and I was
this movie has big "the wrong kid died" energy.
Yeah. I was waiting for his brother to die, and then and you don't want none of this, Dewey.
And wait, and like no one, am I wrong? Like no one died in this movie except for the Russian
apart
spy.
from Spider-Man,
except for Mr. Dickovich.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name is. He's always Mr. Dickovich.
I had
He's the
written in my
landlord.
notes
That's
like
it.
they barely put together a team. The train they keep showing doesn't derail. None of these fucks get blown up. And Jake Gyllenhaal ends up with the ugly broad. Nah. Fuck this movie.
I definitely want to get into that later. The completely arbitrary like relationship thing that's going on in this movie for no reason whatsoever. I wonder if it's
no
his
bearing
actual
on the
wife. You know, that's why they had to do it or something.
It could be.
Well, Jake Gyllenhaal was only 15 in this movie. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the October Sky is the movie about a bunch of Virginia coal area hillbillies who also happen to be quite intelligent and inspired by the space race that is happening because Sputnik is launched right at the beginning. And it sort of tells a true story, which is actually quite fun. The other two movies that we have are also true stories.
Yep.
Hang on, what?
We did documentaries this week.
For example, Ryan, tell us about the movie that you brought to the table this week.
I picked a movie that has an interesting like staying power with me. I picked Steven Soderbergh's Logan Lucky. Everyone thought he was out, and they pulled him right back in to make another heist movie, and this movie exists. I don't know what else to say.
Exist. It came out in 2017. It was interesting when we landed on this one because I've watched it when it first came out, and I had like very cloudy memory of it. So it was fun to revisit it in a way. But it's Steven Soderbergh, director of Out of Sight, banger, Aaron Brockovich, Traffic, the Oceans movies, Magic Mike movies, and starring. Okay, bear with me, audience. Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig, Riley Keough, Katie Holmes, Dwight Yoakam, Seth MacFarlane, Sebastian Stan, Jack Quaid. It just keeps going and going.
Bunch of nobodies.
Yeah.
Nobodies. And then a phenomenal amount of cameos, but if you're a NASCAR fan, but if you're not, you didn't pick up on the 15 cameos that are in.
I recognized Jeff Gordon, and that was it.
Hey, well, there you go. Well done.
I didn't even recognize Jeff Gordon, so that's
So, Logan
the guy from Days of Thunder.
Logan Lucky. Yeah.
No, wait, that guy died.
Now I got it.
Yeah, that guy died.
It's Carrie Elwes. Logan Lucky is a heist movie. It's weird. I can't quite figure out. It's got great reviews. It got like 90-something% critical reviews. It's a fun watch of a kind, but it's at the same time the movie ends, and I don't feel any of the things I feel like when I watch an Ocean's movie.
No, it's a great movie that's utterly forgettable. I don't know why. Yeah, I've seen this movie a bunch now, and I'm like every time, like
instantly forgettable. And then like I'm there going, as I'm watching the movie, no, it's working. Yeah, this is cool. This is entertaining. Okay, that's cool.
It's great.
Right. Nice. Credits roll. I go, what was that? Who was that?
It's like you get zapped with the Men in Black thing after the credits roll, and you're like, what did I watch this movie? It's so crazy. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe our audience can tell us.
Yeah, well, I think that's what I mean. Maybe when we get into the chat about it, we'll be able to figure it out, because I feel exactly the same way that you do, right? And I thought this second watch was going to be able to, I'll be like, all right, I'm either going to get over this or I'm going to figure it out. And at the end, I was still like, why? Why do I feel like the way I'm feeling? Will, what about you? What do you think about Logan Lucky?
I definitely liked it. I don't have the problem where like I forget it. I've seen this movie only twice. I was going to rewatch it for this podcast, but then I was like, just for fun, I went on Wikipedia to just read the synopsis, and like before I got very far, I'm like, oh no, I remember this entire thing. But emotionally, same, like none of it sticks with me, and I don't ever think about this movie until somebody brings it up. I don't know. We'll get into it, but I think there's a charm about the Ocean's movies that they're set in Vegas, and I think
the second one.
Except for the second one, which is the worst of the three,
or the best, depending on who you ask. It's Soderbergh's favorite.
Well, sure. If you ask a wrong person, they'll say it's the best. Sure. But not that it's bad. Not that it's bad. I'm not saying that.
It's different.
Will famously hates the French.
Them. How dare they give us the Statue of Liberty? I've never gotten over that.
Invent the menage a trois and democracy.
But the thing that sticks with me is, I think this was even the tagline of the original film, is in the Ocean's 11, the reason why you root for them is because they're in Vegas and going after Vegas. It's like the only town where you could like have a bunch of thieves really be the good guys and you're rooting for them.
They're trying to beat the
you're
house.
Like, yeah. And when it's any other setting, it's kind of like, you know, they're stealing from NASCAR. It's like, does the general public really care about going after NASCAR like this? Like, and there's just something about it where it's like, I think the target is wrong.
Why does Channing Tatum need the money?
I was going to say, like, what's this?
Because he says he needs a lawyer, but then he doesn't seem to keep any money. And he seems to be getting on great with his wife at the end. So it's almost like the stakes of getting the money are non-existent. Yeah. And then everybody's arc, because the movie for me is 20 minutes too long. Yeah. And then to wrap up everybody's arc, and then you get the final shot of the movie where I guess everybody hooks up with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which, you know,
well, it ends
is
on
their
that,
right
like,
as male protagonists. That's their right.
Right.
But
yeah. It ends on that cliffhanger a bit with like Hilary Swank at the bar, but is it a
cliffhanger, or is she gonna fuck Adam Driver?
He's got that robotic hand. I don't know.
Yeah.
That being said, it is without a doubt for me the best part of the movie is
Seth MacFarlane's accent.
Seth MacFarlane's flawless British accent. Like, I've got no notes on it, guys. He's perfect.
I don't know what's better.
About it. It's definitely English.
I don't know what's better, his accent or his Jerry curl. Right?
I was surprised to learn he was American. Yeah.
And Sebastian Stan is in this movie. I was like, oh, that's the guy.
For 5 fucking minutes. United States of a movie legend, Adam Driver, who's managed to turn up in every episode. I don't know if you know, but young Adam Driver is a very, very versatile actor that's turned up in many
prolific.
Movies. It's crazy. Even all the way back to Shane. I don't know if you knew that. Young kid from Shane, young Adam Driver.
That's who was playing him in this movie.
Right.
Exactly.
But actual Adam Driver, old Adam Driver, he's fucking great.
He's so good in this. And
in this particular movie, he's great. Like, and just so great.
It's kind of like stripped back. It's not over the top. He's very like unassuming. I mean, the guy is basically a fucking tree, and like everything I've seen him in.
Yeah, the guy is Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's so good in this.
He played Groot in those movies. That's
because Vin Diesel is also a young Adam Driver.
Oh,
yes. Fuck. Most people don't know that.
The Driververse? Oh my God. Connect the dots, you psychopaths.
But yeah, no, Adam Driver he's got the accent of Tim Blake Nelson from A Country for Old Men.
That's what this movie was missing.
Did y'all just say cauliflower? Cauliflower? The way he says cauliflower.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Adam Driver, he's great. And we'll get back to this movie.
Everyone in this movie was very good.
That's the thing. Everyone's doing it great, and they're all great. I think, so one thing that I found quite interesting, before we move on to our third movie quickly, was the thing that was different about this movie is Soderbergh cut out the studios in order to have creative control and make the maximum amount of money. So he sold off the foreign distribution rights, sold everything except the movie showing up in a movie theater in order to pay for advertising, prints, and stuff like that. But by doing that and sidestepping a studio, it meant that even if the movie only made like $15 million, it's $15 million in his pocket. So it's like a movie made without studio notes, studio interference, or anything. It's a Soderbergh movie, which is maybe why it seems to take a slightly, I don't know, different approach.
I'm a huge fan of his. I think I think his body of work is fantastic. I don't think there's a movie or show that he's made that I didn't like or dislike.
Oh, that's right, because you're an absolute sucker for the Nick, aren't you?
I fucking love the Nick. Oh my God.
You've been telling me to watch that bloody show for 5 years or something.
And it's funny you say that because it is a bloody show.
See, I say 5 years, but you and I became friends during the pandemic.
True.
It just feels like a lot longer.
I think once this movie ended, I was like, it was so Soderbergh.
You've been waiting to do it. Yeah. Okay, so we had a quick pause just there because the Soderbergh joke went so badly that Will actually had to leave the podcast for a minute.
I'm finally finished throwing up, so we're all good.
I worked so hard on that one. I watched 3 movies just to come up with that stupid joke.
Well, there you go, because there is a third movie to talk about. And Will, this was your movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I fought over this one.
There was a bit of a battle for this one. This is a great one. Tell us about your amazing movie.
I picked this. This is one I watch every Halloween. Absolute favorite of mine. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Tucker and Dale versus
Man.
Evil. That came
Just
out
a
in 2010.
perfect premise, perfect plot.
It's great.
It
so
is.
good.
I mean,
So
it's
good.
directed by this guy, Eli Craig, who's best known for this. Interestingly enough, it stars Tyler Labine, Alan Tudyk, and other people. I mean, there are other people, but let's be honest, it's Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And this movie, I'm so glad we did it because we referenced it when we were talking in our Halloween special.
Cabin in the Woods, right?
Exactly. We were talking about the two big disruptors of horror, Cabin in the Woods and Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I still remember seeing the trailer. This is back when I watched trailers. And it's also because I kind of watched the trailer because I was like, well, I'm not going to watch this movie. And it sets up the premise in the first 20 seconds. And I'm like, I am watching this movie. Oh my God.
It was one of those where I almost hoped you had never seen it so you could experience it for the first time through this podcast. But this was a movie like eluded me for a long time. Like it would always pop up on like Netflix or whatever, my streaming, and the cover, I was like, I'd seen, I'm like, this is probably just some dumb hillbilly. I don't know, whatever. This is silly. And then I remember watching a video essay on YouTube, as I often do. Fucking nerd. And this had popped up. I'm like, oh my God. Once I'd learned what the premise was, I'm like, I got to check this out. And boy, was I pleasantly surprised. I adore this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
One time watching it.
The casting of Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk. I mean, Zen and I, Mrs. and I, we love Alan Tudyk. He's just like, whatever he's in. I think the first time I was ever introduced to him was that, God damn it, what's that Night movie with Heath Ledger? Knight's
Knight's Tale. Yeah.
And he's got this British accent. I honestly
say
thought he was
The Dark
British.
Knight.
Yeah, he was Batman in that movie.
Shit.
But like, he was just so good in that movie, and
He's
everything
great.
I've ever seen him in, he's been amazing.
Yeah.
And this is another example of it. So if
He's
you
got
don't
that like
know,
Bronson Pinchot energy. I don't know if that makes sense. Really obscure.
So if you don't know the
reference.
premise of Tucker and Dale versus Evil, it takes the exact premise of every single horror movie, which is a bunch of college kids go off camping in the Appalachian wildlands of West Virginia. And while they're there, they kind of bump into two crazy, scary, weird rednecks, which is Tucker and Dale. And they're freaky and they're scary and they're definitely going to kill them. Except the movie really takes place from the perspective of Tucker and Dale, who were just a couple of guys who were going up to their vacation home to go fishing, have a good time, and these damn college kids keep killing themselves.
They're working on their vacation home, which is
Which
amazing.
obviously was a real murder cabin at one point.
It does.
And they're just
turn out,
not picking up on it.
No, it's great. It's funny because this movie could have gone like really south really fast. It could have been really terrible. But the fact that they're so sweet and endearing, and they just want to work on their vacation home and drink beer and fish, man.
Just have a good time, man.
Yeah. And they're good friends. They build each other up. It's
Yeah,
not
they
like they're not like making fun of each other and like that kind of like early 2000s like you suck or you're the
Right.
They're really really good friends.
It's
They're
like,
really
just-
like
You just got to
helping
go
each
over
other.
there and flash that smile and laugh. It's fucking great.
Yeah,
It's so
you're
good.
right. Like, Will, that's a really good point. And it definitely avoids that kind of that thing that you're saying is like, well, we're really close male friends, but to let everybody know we're not gay, we're going to be really mean to each other. You know, because exactly. It's like, no, man, you're worth it. Go over there and talk to that girl and just be you. You know, like they'll like you for you, man. It's like that's a really good point. Because they are very sweet to each other. They're a very sweet pair.
Yeah,
it's a romantic buddy comedy of two men that just love each other and a bunch of guys and girls accidentally killing themselves.
God,
in hilarious ways.
Yeah, this movie is super violent, which just adds to the humor aspect of it because of the tone of it. It just if this was like a PG-13, I don't think it would have been anywhere near as good. Like you need that the crazy hilarious gore, and the deaths
you
are
need the guy. Yeah,
phenomenal. Jumping into the wood chipper, yes.
Wood chipper.
And he pulls them out. And he's got the line. He's like, "How are you so heavy? You're half a man." Great, I love it.
Let's just keep going. Let's continue. Let's just keep talking Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Let's start with Tucker and Dale. It's a banger of a movie. I think it's just. I almost wonder that when they came up with the idea of the movie, they were just like, "How has nobody done this?"
Yeah.
Like it's like it's been there, that perfect idea. It's there, and the way they do it, the balance of it. I think one of my favorite moments. And again, this is me jumping ahead. We'll back up. but like it's the bit where I think makes the movie, like it boils it down, is they're sneaking up on the house, and and Alan Tudyk, Tucker,
Oh
is
yeah.
he's he's got his chainsaw, and he accidentally saws through like a beehive. So
Yeah.
so
Great.
suddenly he's being chased by bees, but he runs around the corner and he's
The
like
Texas
a crazy,
chainsaw,
and it's like it's just that's
The-
it. That's the genius of the movie.
The only part of this movie that after rewatching it, like, and I remember, like, didn't really connect for me was the B plot of the main teenage boy being a psychopath. Like,
Well,
I get
he's
that
the
they,
child of
yeah, I get that they
yeah.
needed to tie it in to have like unending, but that was the only thing. I'm like, I want more of the craziness. Then I don't care about this. Like, but
I
I get
actually
it.
quite liked it because that kid.
It was a good twist.
It is a good, and he plays it well. The actor,
Yeah.
like I said, he's kind of underwhelming at the beginning. They're all kind of generic, apart from the blonde girl that is the most sort of the protagonist of a way.
Yeah.
But like the rest of them are kind of forgettable. That kid though,
Yeah.
when he does his turn, I'm like, oh no, he's good.
Yeah.
I mean, what I like about it is, and sorry everyone, we're skipping to the end, but this is just so funny. The reason why I think that subplot works is because at a certain point, that guy's talking about hillbillies, not like it's just, oh, you're living out in the woods. He's talking about it like it's a genetic thing.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
at one point he's like,
When they're like, you're part
half
hillbilly, he goes, no.
and that's the part that sells
It's
it for
not
me.
true.
Which is
That's
like,
that's good.
Wait
That's
a
true.
minute.
I'm
what?
back. I'm back. Oh,
Yeah.
I think we glazed over this movie has a cold open too. That's very like Blair Witchy, where it's like the news report. They're going into the cabin.
Yeah.
And then someone just gets hit in the face with something, and you get the reveal. You're like, oh shit, what is this? Zombies? Like, I don't know. And then it kind of dovetails into
Well,
the.
interesting enough, the cameraman in that scene is the director, writer of the movie, and the reporter is his wife.
Oh,
So it's
well,
a
that's
cameo of
sweet.
the director and his missus at the very beginning in the cold open, was a kind of like. Oh, I also realized, I think the fun thing, the premise of this movie is that, like you're saying, Tucker and Dale are in a horror movie but don't realize it.
Yeah.
And the college kids aren't but think they are.
Mhm.
So
Right.
the college
It's very
kids,
clever,
because of
very
movies, have brought the idea of a horror movie into this sort of like, so they've just projected horror movie onto Tucker and Dale. Like that first shot you ever get of Tucker and Dale in the truck. You know, they go
God,
by and they
so
got
good.
the mouths open. They do look like, oh my, the hills have eyes and
It's
stuff.
got all the similar. I mean, this is such a good double feature with Cabin in the Woods because tonally they're very similar. I mean, you get that shot in the beginning with the car you're talking about. The girl pops up in the back. She's like, "Oh my god, we forgot the beer." They have to go to the,
No.
it has. I mean, it has it all. They go to the general store. It's very like pastiche of all of these other horror films. It's he's just eating the deviled eggs or the pickled,
Yeah,
the
pickled
eggs.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
But it's
pickled
just
eggs.
great. Like it has that like horror sting to it, but it's just they're so adorable. Like you just want.
It's their naivete
Yeah.
and their optimism is why they just want to have a good time. Like the bit where Tucker's like, Dale, go over, just laugh. People like people that laugh. Okay, so he goes over with a
He's holding a scythe. Yeah.
and he's like, so what are you guys doing? And it's just-
Oh my god, get away, you freak. I don't know where I went wrong. I love that pops up at the end too.
It's like, they didn't like my face.
God, it's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, like we keep bouncing around, but like the Tucker and Dale versus Evil premise, like I was saying, is a bunch of college students go out and they accidentally seem to think that Tucker and Dale are the crazy hillbillies who are there to kidnap them because as teens do, or as college students do, they get drunk, they go, let's go skinny dipping. And one of the characters, played by Katrina Bowden, she is, while she's taking her clothes off, the guys are fishing and they're like, Dale's like trying not to look, Tucker is like, whatever. But she slips because she gets surprised, she hits her head, and Tucker and Dale rescue her. But from the perspective of the kids, they're taking their unconscious friend.
We got your friend.
And then we got your friend. And they're like,
why are they running over? It's I think Will, you said this is like one of your favorite things. It's just a hilarious misunderstanding.
Yeah.
From the perspective of two different parties. And I think that's it's in any other instance, it would be such a frustrating thing, but this makes it so funny.
Well, I think what helps with that is the fact that Katrina Bowden, who is
so
playing
hot,
the character of Allison, is a psychology student. So she's kind of caught in the middle And so, but she's the one that is almost like us going, this is a massive misunderstanding. Everybody, like, this is, no,
Yeah.
everybody needs to calm down. Dead.
You're right. This movie is ridiculous. Like a woman who's hot and smart? No. Absurd. Get out of my movies.
And I do like that the group leader, the guy who in the end sort of like, his name is Chad as well. It's beautifully like just
with the most popped collars in history.
Yeah,
the most
just
it's
boot
never
shell
not
necklace,
popped.
just
the most mid 2000s attire.
Douchebag.
All of these characters look like they fell out of like a Claire's catalog or something. Like,
I had a very similar thought because I feel like it's deliberate.
Yeah.
Because it's that same thought. Because because you can see Tyler Labine, Alan Tudyk, and Katrina Bowden all have this something. This just something about people that in movies or actors or whatever, like they've just got something, an X factor. And it's like all of the rest of them, and I don't mean to criticize it. I don't mean this like what I'm just trying to say is that they have a Y factor. Like why? They had that kind of B movie actor that kind of just as opposed to someone that's got that X factor.
But that adds to the charm, I think, too. Yeah,
that's what I think. I think that's deliberate casting as well.
It's not so much about the characters; it's how they die horrifically.
Exactly. It's like you're gonna impaled and you're gonna stab yourself. You're gonna blow yourself up. You're the smoky one. Like, I did have a question because Mrs. just before she fell asleep right around the time that Tucker and Dale kidnap her. But they do go skinny dipping. And then there's the other blonde. So there's the dumb blonde and the intelligent blonde. And the dumb blonde, she just loves to smoke. And she's very much the cliche. She's deliberate, I guess, the cliche. But there is, in the distance, they do go skinny dipping. And Mrs. and I were both like, what is wrong with her tits? she had very, very, very strange. And we couldn't tell if it was the same actress because it was done at such a distance. But the only thing we could see were just the two worst fake boobs we'd ever seen in our lives. Those are weird, right? Even Mrs. was like, yeah, those are weird. That's
now who's shaming women?
It's women shaming women, so it's fine. No, it's like again, I feel like there's so many sort of subtle little deliberate things that I think were thrown into this movie that are just kind of like just there to hit.
Yeah, and you make a great point. This movie is much like Shaun of the Dead. Like this movie is very rewatchable to catch little things like that, and I think it's crazy. I'm sure that there's like a diehard fans of this movie as with any movie, but this movie is so rewatchable, and I think that adds to the level of charm. I'm upset. It's just I'm like I had only recently discovered it instead of seeing it like many years ago.
Yeah,
I might have seen this in theaters. I think that might have been the first time I saw this.
It's
this was in theaters, maybe in Canada.
I think because where I used to live by ASU, there was that Harkins Theater that was just the one small like. Only showed like independent movies and stuff. I think this played there.
Well, no, that makes
Yeah,
sense. Okay, because it got a limited theatrical release. It had a lot of buzz because it premiered at Sundance, and then a few months later was in South by Southwest. So it had kind of buzz about it, but it's like it had that kind of undercurrent buzz. So it was only limited theatrical release in September 2011.
And it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival.
I mean, here you go. So like opening weekend, it made $50,000. It was in 30 theaters. It grossed $250,000 in the US, but about $5 million outside. And that to me is why studios suck, because this movie is so good.
Yeah.
I think with a few $1 million of marketing and a wide theatrical release,
it's such a movie that would have, like, if it had come out in, like, let's say the early 90s or something, it would have bombed hard in the theater, but VHS sales would have, like, rental stuff would have really
it would have made $25 million on VHS sales.
Now you just like skip over it on Netflix or Hulu or something like that. Like I did. That's what
I did the same thing with Cabin in the Woods for years.
Yeah.
I always saw that cover of the twisted up house, but Cabin in the Woods, and it looked like a horror movie. And you know me, I'm not really a horror guy, and just skipped over it until one night Mrs. and I were like, I was like, Mrs., people keep talking about this. Let's just put it on for 10 minutes and see what's what. Thor's in it. And like the first
and no one else.
Yeah. The first 5 minutes you go, well, I guess I'm watching this movie because the cold open is completely bonkers bananas.
Right. And Will, you discover this because you own every Richard Jenkins Blu-ray.
Every single one.
The box set.
Yeah.
Just got it, Witches of Eastwick in. So.
Old Dickie J, love it. But
Like,
this is a fun movie.
Well, that's the word. It is the word. It's
fun.
Even when it's graphically violent. You know, again, so I was saying, I was watching this, Mrs. had fallen asleep on the sofa. I'm like, all right, I'm watching this. She's half in, half out. But even she's like half awake for the first, she's like, oh, damn. You know, it's like the kid that, so I was referencing it earlier. They think that their friend has been kidnapped. So the guys get together, all the students get together, and they're like, we've got to rescue our friend. So they're sneaking up on the house. And as Will referenced, it's definitely a former murder house from a former horror movie, because there's all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah.
And they just they're like, wow, three for one hot dogs? Like that's the thing, like the one clipping
next to like missing bodies. Yeah.
All the murder clippings. He goes right for the wow.
No expiration date.
Never expire. But it's that scene that I was saying, is that suddenly Tucker is being chased by bees. He comes running around the corner, swatting at the bees with a chainsaw.
God, so good. It's
which
shot so
creates
well.
Absolute panic. And one of the kids starts running. So Tucker's just running from bees. This other, later he goes, that boy must have been like very allergic to bees, like anaphylactic shock or something, because he was running like a bat out of hell.
And he's covered in these like fucking like the makeup, the prosthetics are so good.
So
he's
funny.
Covered in welts, pours the beer on his face.
But while he's running and he runs off, the other kid, while looking at Tucker,
the glance they
himself.
have.
Impales himself on a tree. It's brutal. It's bloody. It's gross. But of course, the other kids think it's some sign of like, they left his body there on display to freak them out.
Yeah.
And the mix-ups continue, because then they're like, let's go looking for, the blonde girl comes back, Allison gains consciousness, and they're like, we'll go look for your friends. So there's Tucker covered in bee stings. He looks like a horror show.
A monster.
And Dale go out and they're like, college kids. They don't notice the dead body behind them. And because they can't leave a note, he's like, all right, we'll carve it into this piece of wood with a hatchet and
with
whatever.
as few words as possible.
Come get your friend.
Right. Or it's like, is that what it said? Or
it's like, we have your friend, or something like that, where it's like the most intimidating message they can actually leave.
It's such a clever movie. It's such a clever, and I think, Will, didn't you say, or Ryan, you referenced that on the DVD or the Blu-ray, there's a really interesting option. What was that?
You can, it was on, I think on the IMDb trivia page, but who has this on DVD? You can watch the entire film from the perspective of the college kids. So it's probably like a straight up horror thing. Now I'm so curious. I want to check that out.
I love the bit that you said, who has that on DVD, that Will went, and then checked his Blu-ray.
Do I actually own this?
But
I don't know if I know. I
just
don't,
look behind you.
But yeah, that's the thing, is that like that's how well made the movie is, that if you remove just a few scenes, it is a horror movie.
Just a straight up horror
but
movie.
It gives you all the context of Tucker and Dale. So you realize that just like, like Dale is he's like, oh no man, I'm an idiot. But at the same time, he's also a genius. It's like, oh, I can just remember everything I've ever heard or read.
Yeah.
A savant is the word you're looking for.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's interesting that Dale and Allison kind of had this fun little like connection as the movie goes on. So it's already, it's like a romantic comedy with a lot of murder, Well, actually, it's no murder. Really, everyone accidentally kills themselves.
He even says to the kids, he's like, these kids are just killing themselves on our property. What's going on?
It's like a death pact or something. Yeah.
When the kids finally, I forget if this happens
Some
right
of
after.
them run away.
Yeah, they get away. They get the sheriff.
This is my favorite part of the movie. Go.
They pull up the car, and Tucker is just they're carrying this guy's severed torso, and they drop it, and they're like, I know how this looks. And they're just like, no, that's when he goes into that tirade. They're like, no, these kids are killing themselves on our property.
Well, no, it's like, and then Dale's trying to explain, goes, no, we got the girl inside. We got her, but she's unconscious. And Tucker's like,
stop saying things.
I know. And they're covered, head to toe, covered in blood as they're trying to explain. And
because he's trying to rescue the kid pulling his legs out of the wood chipper.
It's like, it's almost
so graphic.
It's Final Destination levels of, because when the students decide to attack, right? So we've had the initial murder. Now their official leader has kind of got them all G'd up on, this is it. this is what men is about. We've got to, you know, fight for our lives.
The cop goes into the cabin and there's like a Chekhov's rusty wooden nail beam that keeps popping up.
That exactly, the nail beam. But like,
it's
we
in the head, yeah.
But the initial attack, they're just there outside. They're digging a hole for the outhouse, but it looks like Allison's digging her own grave.
Yeah.
It's just all of the context is misunderstood. So then you got the two guys attack. One guy accidentally jumps into the wood chipper. The other guy sort of falls on his own spear and kind of like kills himself. And it just keeps going because then the sheriff accidentally nails himself in the head.
Yeah, the beam. Yeah, he gets beamed.
The kid takes the sheriff's pistol. And he's trying to shoot
that was
him.
the hardest
oh
thing
no,
to
man!
watch.
You got to take the safety off on the side.
That was frustratingly stupid. Like
he turns the gun around on himself and shoots himself in the head. And I'm like, the movie is maybe one of my. It's an all-time classic. It's
very fun. Yeah.
It is just put it up on a pedestal of there you go. An original idea, so obvious now, but so brilliantly executed.
And not in like that's what elevates this movie over, like, let's say a scary movie, which is just a straight up parody.
Right. Yeah.
This is just like a very tongue in cheek. Like it takes itself seriously, but not at all. And that's what makes it so much more enjoyable, I think.
Well, because it's a serious situation that people are dealing with.
Yeah.
But it's just the situation is funny.
I think, Will, you said it best. Like they said, like, you know, each party doesn't know that they're in this situation together, and it makes it, you're like, oh my God, can't they just talk? Can't they solve this with words?
If they only just stopped for like a minute to talk to each other, it's like, they would clear everything up.
Do.
But
that's what they do. Exactly. So Allison, the psychology student, is like, guys, even though she goes outside and there's dead bodies everywhere. And then like they break in to rescue and they're like, just shut up, sit down. You sit there, and each of you describe the situation from your perspective. That's when we then get the extra, so the college kid, the leader,
he tells that story,
yeah, Jesse Moss, he tells the story of actually my parents were, because he told the scary story at the beginning was about this murders that happened, the Memorial Day murders.
Great flashback sequence too.
Yeah, well, it turns out that his mom was the survivor, and his dad didn't make it, but it turns out that she was actually like sexually assaulted by one of the rednecks. So the psycho killer is his dad. You know, was kind of like
hillbilly.
Twist of it.
Yeah, no. Like a Darth Vader level no scream.
Yeah, no.
Right.
It's great.
But like,
I just love
you're just like us.
Yeah.
But just as they're getting on the same page, some of the other kids that have also survived, you know, again, they turn up to try and rescue them again. Now accidentally set fire to the place, they accidentally set fire to the other dude. She's sitting there smoking next to all the, we should have got rid of that. The whole house explodes.
She throws the moonshine on the guy. Like,
that was the funniest shit.
You also get Chekhov's chamomile, the reveal, like they make tea together and he's like, what kind of tea is that? Chamomile? I can't. Because finally a movie that represents me, a young boy with asthma.
Who's also
at least saw yourself on screen.
who is also mostly hillbilly at this point. After these 3 weeks, I'm more hillbilly than man.
Yeah, there's been a lot of hillbilly recently. It's kind of like, it's because we bounce around and we do a little bit of randomness, but for a while we had nothing but corn. Now we just got nothing but hillbillies. It's been great.
I will die on that hillbilly.
And then
much like this movie.
It kind of sets up this last few minutes, this last sort of thing at this point. So basically, all the other kids have died. The house has exploded, but then you get like the classic movie trope of the bad guy's still alive. And now, like Jesse Moss, Chad, he's got half his face is now burnt off. He's like Two-Face. He's got the crazy hair. He's gone crazy. He kidnaps Allison because he's jealous, because he realized that Allison likes Dale and not him. He said, but I'm a Chad, man. How can you like a Dale? Ties her up in a sawmill, and we get this whole sort of ending thing. Oh, by the way, I skipped over the fact, the dark part of the movie where Tucker gets kidnapped and they chop 2 of his fucking fingers.
Yeah.
And that was like, wait, what the hell? That's when it got dark, man.
Yeah, that's when you really start to
go
feel
dark, but it doesn't, because like they get to Tucker and hey, how's he doing? Hey, I've been better. You know, like,
it just makes you root for Tucker and Dale even more. You know, like you're like, fuck these. Usually, like in a slasher movie, you want these kids to survive, or maybe not, but in this, you definitely don't. You're like, man, fuck these kids.
Yeah.
Kids can die, and Tucker and Dale, everything needs to go well for them.
Yeah.
You do get the reveal at the end that they've sewed his fingers back on, but then
They're
there's
two
that
different,
extra joke.
Yeah. I don't remember this
reversed.
finger. Yeah.
One of them's just obviously not his finger, and it's got
the
a
woman's
painted
finger.
nail.
Yeah. I was hoping the other one would have been from the Black Kid. That
That would have been great as well.
I misremember that. I also, as I was watching this for the second time, I thought there was, or it seemed like there was going to be an added twist that Katrina Bowen's character was also had some like malicious intent or something like that. Like I thought it was going that way, but it never does. But you get the scene where she's the damsel in distress. She's tied up in the sawmill, and Dale busts in, and he's got the welding mask on. He's like, I thought it'd be scary. She goes, yeah.
If they want a scary hillbilly, I'll give them one.
You get the chainsaw fight. That was fucking great. And then they defeat him by using chamomile tea. And like that.
Well, they don't defeat him because then
falls to his death.
Because then it flashes. Because then we realize that the cold open was him still alive, haunting the place. That he becomes the Blair Witch of this place. But we don't
real fairy tale ending.
Because we did because I get that. But then Tucker's fine. He gets his fingers back, kind of. And Dale ends up going on a date with Alice, and they go bowling. And then he got that extra bit at the end where he's giving the inspiring speech to the hillbilly next to him.
God,
and he goes in
the most hillbilly guy.
Oh yeah.
So
I want that sequel. Like post bowling alley.
Just be you and go for it, and just like I'm sure it'll work out. And he goes, all right, and goes in the background, just knocks a woman out, and he's just dragging.
I think everything happens in the background. Like we have this scene, like they're chatting together, and everything's going on in the background. It's like pure fucking chaos, and it just ends with him like dragging this woman. He's like, I got your friend. It's just great.
And Dale's like, I don't care, and just goes and kisses the girl.
Yeah. Just a misunderstanding, man. You know?
Wow, and this is another thing. Okay,
hillbillies is people too.
There's so much about this that doesn't make sense. For me, one is it didn't make more money. Two, it didn't get a wider release. Three, the film was shelved for over 3 years.
Yeah, I read that too.
As well. So it was one of those. When something like that happens, usually it's all right, let's just put it out and let's whatever losses we're gonna eat, let's just eat it up and then we'll write it off. It used to be that kind of thing that so I remember there's some like 80s based movie with Topher Grace. It's like Take Me Out Tonight or something that was like they shot it. Yeah. It spent 4 years before it came out, kind of thing. It's weird when something like that happens, but what's even weirder is that this movie works in every way. I just don't understand why other people didn't see this movie for what it was. I don't understand why people didn't see the value. I don't understand why this movie wasn't massive.
Maybe just around that time. Like, did this come out around the same time as Cabin in the Woods?
Tucker and Dale is it 2010? But then, like I said, it was held for years, wasn't it? As well, that's the thing.
It was held for a long time.
Maybe there was just a lot of. At that time, I think they were remaking a lot of like classic horror movies like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. It could have just been
that classic marketing thing, because like marketing companies are not good at their job. And so if anything's even slightly similar, they're like, well, we can't release it at the same time. People will get confused. And it's like
2 movies about magicians? Come on.
It can never happen.
2 asteroid movies? Come on.
So it might have just been like, this is too similar to something else coming out because it also takes place in the woods and audiences can't understand 2 movies in the woods at the same time. Yeah.
Oh my God, listen to this. It's great. In an interview, director Eli Craig expressed thoughts on a sequel titled Tucker and Dale Go to Yale and described it as Good Will Hunting meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh my God. $1 billion.
1,000% in.
Yeah. Sign me up. Because Dale is a genius. So that plays out that he kind of goes to college.
Yeah.
Love it.
Tucker and Dale Go to Yale.
I mean, the title could use some work, but
disagree. I think this movie is fantastic.
Strongly recommend this movie.
If you're one of our regular podcast listeners, and we do this every now and again, like we'll pick one of the movies that you just absolutely cannot miss. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a phenomenally good time. It's fun to watch with your friends. It's fun to watch by yourself. If you're a little bit squeamish, there is going to be some blood, but it is comical. It's always with a sort of an element of comedy. to it, but it's probably not the kind of movie you can watch with kids in the room. That's the only
It's got that kind of like Ash versus the Evil Dead level of gore. Like it's
yeah, or
pretty full
the
on.
boys-esque, not quite
Yeah.
the boys,
Yeah.
None of it is like realistic. It's not Bone Tomahawk where you're just like disgusted for humanity. It's very much like cartoony, over the top.
Yeah,
It's
that's
that
great.
kind
Yeah.
where like even if your kid catches it, you're just like, well,
Yeah.
it's clearly Looney Tunes esque.
Stop
It's not.
coddling your babies. Let them watch this movie.
Yes, show them Texas Chainsaw and then this.
Yes.
Raise them right.
But it gets the United States of movie stamp of approval for being an absolute banger.
I give it
And it's
4 out of 5 wood chippers.
4 out of 5 wood chips. I agree with you. But then let's move along onto Logan Lucky, right? So Logan Lucky is a movie that, like, okay, it's done outside the studio, but it's Soderbergh, it's Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig. You got, it's just a bunch of A-listers, a bunch of like top actors and actresses, a top director that's won Oscars and Oscar-nominated movies. It's kind of all there, and it's given all of this stuff, and it's almost like we talked about Tucker and Dale being amazing and everyone should watch it and it should have been bigger. And Logan Lucky were like, why was it? Why did people believe in this movie? Why was this movie made? Even though it's a good movie, I'm telling you, it's a good movie. But
It's great.
Tucker and Dale stuck with me. Tucker and Dale's trailer stuck with me. Tucker and Dale is the kind of thing I talk about. Logan Lucky is a movie I saw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Utterly
Yeah,
forgettable.
I can't picture
don't know
this
why.
being anybody's like favorite movie at all. It's got to be. I mean, but I don't know. It's one of those. I can't tell you anything wrong with it. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to ever watch it again, like unprompted.
I think people were so expecting another Ocean's type movie, and which is exactly what this is. But there's just something off about it. I don't know why.
Maybe it's because they don't feel quite like a team, like they do in like the Ocean's movies. Like in the Ocean's movies, they feel like a team.
Yeah.
And especially as that series goes on, obviously they feel like they're like a tight group of friends. In this one, it's just kind of more like people Channing Tatum brings on to the heist, but they don't feel, there's no like camaraderie between them. Like Daniel Craig's character doesn't really like hang around the two like hillbilly friends like a whole lot.
Those are his brothers.
The brothers, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. It was another group of brothers, like the
that's the thing. It still has all those pieces. You get like Scott Conn and Casey Affleck's character are basically the allegory for the two hillbillies in this, right? Like
Jack Quaid and Brian Gleason's the Bang brothers,
which are great. They're
yeah.
great together because they have a moral compass. They only they found God, right?
we've found peace with the Lord. And so they got to find a reason for them to do it. But yeah, that's Jack Quaid of The Boys.
That's what I'm saying. It's got all of the pieces. They're all there. You got all of the team members. You got Daniel Craig doing all of the accent work, I will say, is fantastic. I mean, they really learned from Don Cheadle doing
all of the accent work, like the absolute perfect accent word of Seth MacFarlane.
No problem. No notes.
Like,
it sounds
perfectly British guy that in no way is doing in a way like a bit of a pastiche that's not working, but no one had the guts to tell him.
Sounded good to me. Yeah.
I was waiting for the reveal that, like, when he goes on like a tirade later, that the accent was fake the whole time. Like, it was just,
I was expecting that too. Yeah. Me too.
And the Jerry curl was just a wig.
Yeah. So okay, I'll try and break down the plot for you, but at the same time, okay. But the reason it's called Logan Lucky is because the Logans, it's kind of touched on in the movie, but they have themselves a curse, the Logan curse. That anytime something happens, it always kind of goes wrong, which is why Channing Tatum was going to be a football player until he blew out his knee, so he's got an injured knee. You've got Adam Driver. He did tours in Iraq, but he lost the lower part of his left arm, so he's got a prosthetic.
At the worst possible time, right? Like he was finishing his tour and he got blown up on like a roadside IED on his way to the airport.
The way to the airport to leave. It's like, oh man, it's like, and he works as a bartender. You got Riley Keough as their sister, who doesn't seem to have any sort of curse on her in this particular case. But essentially is that Channing Tatum loses his job because he's limping. So they can't. So he's not really got a job right now. He's working at Charlotte Motor Speedway where they're trying to fix a bunch of sinkholes. He's separated from his missus Katie Holmes. He's got an adorable little kid, and Katie Holmes, I think, mentions they might be moving, and
Yeah,
so
she's
he's
moving
like,
across state lines. Yeah.
I need to get a lawyer. So his solution to getting a lawyer is to rob Charlotte Motor Speedway, and
It's
then
so
none of that is
abrupt.
ever really revisited again.
No, they get into the fight at the bar with Seth MacFarlane's character. Then the next day, the brothers wake up. They're like staying at the same place, and Adam Driver walks into the kitchen and just sees like a note on the thing, the keys to success for like a
How to rob a
robbery,
bank.
right?
Yeah, the 10 stages of how to rob a bank. Because after, yeah, so they get Channing Tatum, Adam Driver's at the bar. Seth MacFarlane turns up with a flawless British accent, starts being a bit of a twat. So Channing Tatum gets into a fight with him, and Adam Driver burns his car down. But while Channing Tatum is walking away, he says cauliflower. Apparently, cauliflower, every time he says cauliflower, the last time Adam Driver went to prison for 9 months, but it was juvie. But apparently that means that Channing Tatum has got an idea that's probably going to be a bit crazy. And that idea is a heist. And that heist involves a whole bunch of crazy shit, like breaking Daniel Craig out of jail because they put Adam Driver in jail. Because Daniel Craig is Joe Bang, a safecracker who's good at blowing stuff up.
He's so good
end.
at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Essentially,
They allow him to build some kind of like fake coffin that fits. It's much like every other Soderbergh movie, like or heist movie. The heist is so fucking elaborate, and the way it kind of drip feeds you, and of course at the very end it like pickles back to like every single thing that you know Channing Tatum had rigged up the fence, like he was doing all this stuff. It was so elaborate, and yet you're still like, why?
yeah, the
What-
why
yeah.
and the when and the and then like the twist if he gives half the money back. So NASCAR is able to say, "Oh, we recovered the money," even though they didn't, and you then get the last 20 minutes. Hilary Swank turns up as an FBI agent that then investigates them for 6 months for no real reason. Sebastian Stan as this NASCAR driver who's got a thing about like maintaining his body's perfection, drinks the stupid drink from Seth MacFarlane, which means he crashes the car. But again,
why?
It's almost exactly remove 8 characters from this movie.
Yeah,
and
this movie has like a bizarre epilogue about it. It could have just ended on like it didn't need, I think, that all that extra stuff. It doesn't need the bit where Hilary Swank walks up to the fucking she's interrogating the bank insurance guy, and she's like, "I'm here for that $1 million, baby."
Yeah,
yeah.
weird.
It's unfocused. Really, is kind of like what I think the problem is. Whereas like the best of the Ocean's movies have very clear goals and something that they're driving towards.
Yeah, and a villain.
This
like
one-
it had
yeah.
Terry Benedict as like a villain, like an antagonist, something they were up against. But this it just Hilary Swank shows up so much later that it doesn't even matter. Like he's already gone with the money, and who cares?
Right. Yeah. But like fantastic characters who almost deserve like
All memorable.
their own movies. But
Yeah.
it's just there's just something about it's missing that really subtle push to make this movie like really good. It needed a strong antagonist. It needed a clear goal of why exactly are we doing this?
Do you think this movie is a metaphor for how Steven Soderbergh like makes movies? You know, like none of that really none of the shit matters. So he took it upon himself. He's like, I'm gonna do it my way, and this is how I would do it. He puts together his team, he goes through all this shit, he gets all the money, and I don't know.
I can see that. And like he's managed to get together every character, no matter how small, is essentially like, a major play. I mean, you've got the guy, Katie Holmes is married to the guy from The Office.
Roy from The Office.
And Channing Tatum is fired by the guy from
Parks and Rec, Jim
Parks
O'Hare.
and Rec. So like I said, you get even like the bit parts and stuff.
No small parts.
All played by these guys who, again, like Will said, have filled out their characters and are doing them well.
Yeah.
But it's almost like he's sort of taken, he's taken his Oceans sort of idea, and then he's taken Traffic, which was a big sort of, like you've got an ensemble cast, and he's like, shook it up in the middle. He goes, but this time I'm going to sprinkle some hillbilly in there. Woo!
Thank God.
Yeah.
Finally.
And it reminds me, there was, if anybody out there is familiar with like Patrick H. Willems, in his video essays, he did one on time on Robert Zemeckis and how, in his filmography, and there was something he said that's now kind of springing to mind, which is that movie 1942. Is that what it is? The Spielberg John Belushi World War II flop.
Yeah.
It was like comedic flop. That was written by Zemeckis, and something he said in there is like, you could tell it's a Zemeckis plot because it's all like manic, like plot progression, but it doesn't really have a clear goal. It doesn't like have like something that the character is striving for. So it's got the feeling of like a Zemeckis story, but it's missing that ingredient. Whereas you get to Back to the Future, and there's a clear like, this is what we're doing. This movie feels the same way, which is this is manic plot progression that you would see in like Soderbergh's heist movies, but it's missing that very clear like element, something they're working towards that we all understand.
Yeah, that's 1941 is the music. But
41, I was a year off.
I was thinking of, because he also mention that it was the Zemeckis movie where the kids are going like the Beatles concert. What's that called?
Yeah, I Want to Hold Your Hand.
I wanted that. Yeah, it's very similar. Like,
yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, this movie is, by all intents and purposes, fantastic. It's just completely unmemorable. I don't know why.
But why is it critically reviewed like it's
because it's a good movie?
But is it? I mean, it is. But is it? That's the thing. What is the definition of a good movie, Ryan? Is a movie that you remember and love and it sticks with you. You know, like
so Tucker and Dale.
Yeah,
exactly.
Back to It's just I think it's one of these movies where, especially if you are a critic and you've seen a bunch of movies, this movie's doing everything right. But I'm willing to bet if you ask those same critics, like, what do you think of Logan Lucky now? I bet most of them would be like, what are you talking about?
Oh, he did
that?
There's here you go. So I'm getting into a little bit like the critical response again. Great, amazing, top notch, brilliant, terrific, twisty, fun as hell. Except Rex Reed from the New York Observer described Soderbergh as overrated. Complained that the slow pace in Ocean's 11. He praised the camera work, music, ham acting, and concluded it doesn't work. Logan Lucky is as charming and welcome as toenail fungus.
Wow. Whoa.
I think that's a bit harsh. But because I remember toenail fungus.
Yeah.
I've only seen Toenail Fungus 2, Electric Boogaloo. So I can't speak to
the fungus among us.
The fungus among us. Right.
That's one where Adam Driver plays the fungus.
But yeah, so West Virginia.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, because it's like, I remember when like you chose it and I said, no, man, stick with your idea. Because I know they're doing a heist in North Carolina, but they are West Virginians. They are specifically West Virginians.
That comes up a lot.
Yes, a lot. It also gets into the whole idea of sort of the people in that area sort of working in different states. You cross state lines to go to work and things like that. And it's, you know, it's even got the adorable bit where the heist has to be moved up a week. You know, I think and you get that sweet part where his daughter is singing in the talent show. And he turns up, he's finally there, and she sings West Virginia, and everybody in the crowd sings along. And honestly, that's where the movie should have ended.
Yeah. Well, and that turns out that was his alibi, like, that he couldn't have been doing this because he was seen there at that event, you know?
Right.
But again, who fucking cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a cool Prison Break, which I like the Prison Break is done because Daniel Craig does nothing but drink the water.
There's so many subplots. Like, there's so many. This movie is like a Rube Goldberg machine of like so many things, and so many subplots are happening and it happens so quickly that it's hard to like keep up. That's why at the end of Soderbergh's movies, it has to have that 5-minute bit where it makes you feel like, oh, that's why all of this was happening. Like, it has to kind of spell it out for you. Otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. But you have the prisoners who are holding up because they want George R.R. Martin they want the Game of Thrones books. I remember in the theater when I saw that, it was so weirdly relevant, and now some 5 years later, I'm like, he still hasn't.
Still weirdly relevant. It's like he still hasn't released that book. And they were like, "That is."
I'm on the Wikipedia page right now. I love the warden in that. He's good.
Dwight Yoakam,
like, he's so fucking good, so good.
Like,
and everyone's on the payroll. Like, everyone gets bags of money at the end of it, and it ends.
And it shows you, like I said, that it fills in the spot about Channing Tatum had another heist going on outside of the Bang Brothers. But it is,
and their bus.
But like, it's like, but why? Did he feel like he couldn't trust them? But then he still gives Joe Bang his money. Again, it just, right. Well, I mean, it's deliberately, it's got all these pieces and he fits it all together and he goes, right? And I go, I guess.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
I guess. You know,
Because it is
whereas-
like, it is super entertaining. It's a very entertaining watch, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel like movie. I
But
don't
like
know.
Will says, I can remember all of those Oceans movies, the
Yeah.
whys and the whats and the twists and the everything of those Oceans movies, and it's fun and it's funny and it's banter. You're along for the ride, and then just when you think something's gone wrong, then later it fills you in on, don't worry, they had
That
it
was part of
covered."
it all along.
Yeah,
This does that
right?
too. This does that too.
This does
Every
it, but
hiccup, you think like,
what-
oh no. But
it's so much why. I mean, like
Yeah.
that being said, like this was around the time, you know, like Channing Tatum had just, you know, he just went from 0 to 100. And like Channing Tatum had always just been Channing Tatum, and the guy could dance and stuff like that. And then, you know, he did Magic Mike. He did 21 Jump Street, and everyone's like, wait a minute, this guy's hilarious as well.
Mhm.
And then he just, you know, White House Down, 22 Jump Street, G.I. Joe. The guy was just like, they were like, put this guy in every movie.
More like charming Tatum.
Am I right?
Yeah.
But him and Adam Driver
He's good.
are great fun. Him, Adam Driver, and Daniel Craig together, great fun. It's
Yeah.
fun watching them do it, like do their stuff. Like the bit I remember, you know, just it's the only real bit that I remember is when Adam Driver's arm gets sucked off. Which
Excuse me?
it's a turn of phrase I never thought I would say.
By the Bang Brothers, right?
Yeah. And there's bits where you see Adam Driver like without his prosthetic arm on, and his actual arm is so comically gigantic.
He's massive.
Yeah, it's
The guy is
Makes no
huge.
sense.
Like his forearm, like when it goes off, great special effect. That great
Yeah.
visual effect. But you're right. His forearm is the same size as my thigh.
it's like a Popeye arm
Yeah.
compared to like
Yeah.
his other one.
I was like, good God, Adam Driver. I mean, I know he was a Marine. I mean,
Yeah, give
the
this guy a
guy-
hand.
he's a big dude. Yeah, give this guy a get out.
But he's so I love his performance in this. Like
He's excellent.
It's so calm, and like he doesn't. It's just there's just something about it compared to like his other stuff. I'm like where it's like, oh, this is just Adam Driver. I like his performance in this movie. I like
Another-
everyone's performance.
Another
Yeah.
great Adam Driver performance is the
And
last duel. Ridley Scott.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
still need to see that. I have
Oh
not
my
seen it
God,
yet.
you haven't seen that? That
I know.
movie's great.
It's another movie
movie's
I've seen,
great.
but it's like watching three,
It is like watching
movies.
3 movies. And that's the
and
point.
none of them are good.
No, disagree.
It's
Big
worth it for
disagree.
Ben Affleck in that. Ben
Ben
alone
Affleck
in that
as
is
is the kind of like frisky and the
kind of a
sporty-
sassy bitch.
Yeah,
right?
he's a sassy sort of prince.
Yeah.
And you got Matt Damon who's just angry. That movie's fantastic. Because
I do need to check it out. Yeah.
the protagonist of the movie, no one knows is the protagonist apart from the protagonist.
And
Everybody else
if I
thinks they're in
remember
their own movie.
if I remember correctly, the fight in the last duel is very like They Live, like it goes on for a long time,
It
right?
was a good fight. It's excellent. I tell you, that is it's a very, very, very sort of very Ridley Scott movie that is secretly very feminist.
Yeah, of course.
It's excellent. Will, you should watch it because I'd love to talk to you about that movie.
I do want to check it out. I'll say for Logan Lucky, one thing I think this movie probably did have on movies in general is this is probably the movie where Ryan Johnson saw Daniel Craig being a Southern gentleman.
So-
It was like, I got it. I know who I want for my detective.
Benoit
He's so good in
Blanc.
And
this.
the world is better for it because
Yeah.
he is awesome in those movies. Those movies
He's-
rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it's fun because it's definitely Daniel Craig playing outside of what we expect of him. And then I thought it was kind of fun as well when I get to the credits. It also then goes and introducing Daniel Craig.
Okay, it's great.
Yeah.
Like,
that-
no one's
the-
ever heard of him.
The
I mean, the
bit where
budget,
he
budget for this movie is only like 28 something million dollars. So you've got all of these people are turning up probably for just way less than they usually
yeah,
charge.
for the chance to be in a Soderbergh movie.
Yeah, just to do this random
course,
heist
yeah.
and work with all these other people.
Yeah, it looked like they were having a fun ass time making this
Yeah.
movie. I love the bit where Daniel Craig, because again, like there's not, and that's what we keep talking about. Like there's nothing is wasted in this movie. Every performance, every character, every little thing. When he shows up, they show up to the race, and he goes to buy the beer, and he's like, "Give me 2 packs of those gummy bears." You're like, oh, this is ridiculous. And then that becomes like that's how he makes the bomb. But then it cuts to him actually explaining it and writing it in chalk. And you're like,
The
this
chemical
doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be there. And then you're like, oh no, they're gonna escape and leave this thing on the wall, and they're gonna find it. But nope, Channing Tatum like fucking wipes it down. Like every loose end is covered in this.
Yeah, they do think. I mean, like this is something I didn't know. So Riley Keough, who plays the sister, I didn't realize that's Elvis Presley's granddaughter.
Yep.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Katherine
And
Heigl was originally
yeah.
cast but had to drop out, was replaced by Katie Holmes. Daniel Craig had no set rules to follow for Joe Bang, and according to Soderbergh, Daniel Craig bleached his hair, got it cut, and just sent it as an email. And Soderbergh's like, yeah, that'll work.
Fucking great.
Nice.
So let's just put some tattoos on it. Let's do it.
I heard Henry Cavill almost got that role, but was, denied at the last second.
What?
No, just kidding. That just came out about James Bond, that he was almost Henry Cavill was a hair away.
He's
and then
always-
A mustache away.
mustache away, but then Barbara Broccoli was like, nah, I like Daniel Craig better, like literally the last second. And she was right.
Yeah. Well, we'll just see about that, Argyle.
So, like, okay, so would you, to our loyal followers and watchers, say that Logan Lucky is a movie to watch? Because I would actually say,
What's
What
great about
connection
this
did-
movie is every time you watch it, it's the first time you're watching it. So you could be in some fucked up time loop and you're just like, oh my God. If you want 2 hours to disappear out of your life, Logan Lucky.
We got the movie for you. Well, what would you think, man? You're like, you are a resident total movie nerd.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a bad time watching this. I don't want to say it's a waste of time.
Right, I agree.
I'd say if it's on, if it's an option, and everybody in the group is like, we want to watch something, sure.
Yeah.
There are better Soderbergh heist movies to watch.
Yes, 3 of them.
But yeah.
I'll too. And a half.
Yeah, it's just
This won't scratch that itch. It's not like
no.
No, it doesn't.
like-
Yeah, it's not like it's not like sit all your buddies down and go, guys, you want to watch a movie? Let's watch this, and everyone's going to talk about it afterwards. It's more like, okay, that movie happened.
yeah.
I could even see like a group of people being like, yeah, let's put it on, and then about 20 minutes in deciding to turn it off. Like honestly, I could see that happening too. So
Yeah.
I don't think you'll have a bad time, but I don't think you'll have a great time. I think there are other options.
It's a
So,
perfectly watchable movie.
yeah.
It was okay. I mean, I'll give you that. But then I'll say,
Yeah.
okay. But then, okay, let's move on. Let's move on to October Sky, which I would say is a perfectly watchable movie as well, which has got something. But I've got a really special little thing. I don't know why, but I really like October Sky. October Sky it charmed me. I find it charming. I find it fun. It's got all these things that I do enjoy. It's got Ryan's putting a team together. It's got little bits of sciencey sort of stuff. It's trying to it's got kids just trying to do better. It's got a little bit it's not even, it doesn't even go down like the almost traditional route of the dad being a total dick. He's more just has other
really
responsibilities.
subverted my expectations. You can't put you can't put Chris Cooper in a movie and have him like turn out to be a good guy. I mean, come on, it's Chris fucking Cooper.
He just wants his dad's love. And to do that, he's going to build
Show me on the rocket where October Sky touched you.
So
It's got the Shermanator. Come on.
it does have the Shermanator.
Quite a beefy role for him. Like he was good in this.
He is good in this movie, and I like that. It's kind of fun. Now, what was interesting to me is that now I knew it's based off a book called Rocket Boys. It tells the story of these kids from Virginia. The reason being is because one of them ends up working at NASA. But like the compromise title was October Sky. Now the author wished it had been called Rocket Boys, but I didn't realize this. But the title October Sky works on 2 levels because it's the month when the hero is first inspired by Sputnik flying overhead right at the beginning of the movie. They even say October Sky and everyone turns to the camera and goes, right? But October Sky is an anagram of Rocket Boys.
Shut up, nerd.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, now I just want to go
I
watch.
read that too, and it made me want to shove this movie into a locker.
I want to go. This movie's the prequel to the Harlan Williams movie Rocket Man, right?
100%.
Oh man, we should watch Rocket Man. Is
Better
Mars in the United
movie.
States?
Yeah. The way we're
Doing
going.
the Elton John biography.
Yeah. Oh shit.
But yeah, it tells.
Oh,
the
there
story.
is a second Rocket Man. I forgot.
There is.
Could you
about the
imagine
more-
though if Joe
I
Johnson
forgot
made
about
this?
the more
He would have
famous
had
one.
the Rocketeer, Rocket Man, Rocket Boy, Rocket Sauce.
So I love that this place as well. It's like this. The thing is, I'm watching this movie. I've watched them all, and I was texting you guys, going, "How the hell are we going to pick a winner?" Because these movies are drowning in West Virginia. Even though they're shot in Tennessee and Calgary and Charlotte, North Carolina, the West Virginia of these movies is insane. Like, for example, this one is set in the town of Colwood, West Virginia. Take a guess as to what everybody does in Colwood. They work in
They
the
die
coal.
in mines.
They die, yes, they do. They die in mines
God.
of the black lung, of collapses, of everything else that happens. But I still think it might be by the numbers. You know, it might do the classic,
It definitely is.
the biography thing. I don't care. I don't care.
You described this as like earlier in the week. You were like, it's like Stand By Me with rockets.
Yeah.
And I didn't see. I mean, I was waiting for them to, like you said, Will, was like walk along the train tracks to blow up a body with a dead body with rockets.
That's what I was waiting for. I was like, oh, cool. The Sutherland was going to show up and threaten them. This movie. I mean, I totally agree about the West Virginia-ness of it. Like, this could not. You can't shove an ounce more of West Virginia into this movie. It's like, it's so stuffed.
Yeah, if everyone was
there's
just
literally a coal mine town.
Yeah,
they're all hillbillies. It's just,
but none of them sing the song.
That's true.
That's the thing. Like, only one of these movies has that song.
That's
true. But yeah, I think the other thing takeaway I had from this movie is I was like, you know, I just don't like these Walt Disney produced like drama movies. They're always just a little toothless. They're always just a little too diluted. I get the feeling when I watch because we watched Remember the Titans too, and there are other like Walt Disney produced like dramatic historical movies that they just all feel like they're just big budget made for TV movies. And there's just a feeling I have watching them where I'm like, yeah, this just doesn't hold my attention very well. I watched this movie over 2 days because like I was so bored after the first hour. I was like,
I was
not into it.
It is a very, like we said about Remember the Titans, that's such a great analogy that I didn't even clock that they're like Disney produced movie, but it definitely has that feel, almost like Hallmark adjacent. Hallmark adjacent, I would say, like just super safe.
God,
like,
you see, there you go. The super safe nature is true. This is going to annoy you guys because, like I said, we've already talked about this, about the title change, and you guys have joked about things that studios do because they go, oh, they wouldn't do that. Universal Studios marketing people, there we go, Will, you get to be right again, got involved in the name change because they said, this is so stupid. According to their research, women over 30 would never go see a movie called Rocket Boys. So, sorry.
There you go.
If we title it October Sky, everyone's going to see this fucking.
Just wet for rockets.
God. Women love the word October. That's it's known across the board.
This. Everybody knows it.
And if this movie was made like 20 years ago or took place 20 years ago, all of these kids would be in fucking jail for building a rocket in school.
Well, it's interesting. I do like that because it's a company town. So it's one of those towns that's, it's owned by a company because everybody that works there works at the mine. It's got this kind of thing. What I like about it is the fact that it's like, it is based off a true story. And it does involve this idea of thinking bigger than just the town and going, I don't want to be like you, Dad. Like, you're my hero, but I don't want to work in a coal mine. He's a kid that stares up into the sky in West Virginia, sees Sputnik go over to the top. And he's not the best student. He's not the smartest student. He's not the brightest kid, but he decides, I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that. And I like the bit where, because like you said, Shermanator is in this movie. And he's obviously very smart, but he's sitting by himself at lunch. And it's the bit where like Homo, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, is like, well, I need someone super smart to help me do that. And it's just the little scene. And again, it's whatever, the cliche.
It's quick, yeah.
It's the way that he goes over and everyone's kind of like watching. And his two buddies like, this is the end of your social life.
Yeah.
And he finally commits and sits down, and the way that the whole room is like, oh my God, sitting with a nerd, oh my God.
That kid eats pubes on pizza. But you really say like he's putting together a team, like that's the only guy he gets in the team. Like It's not like a cool montage of like all these badass kids like smoking cigarettes. No, it's this fucking weirdo sitting by himself reading a book like a fucking nerd.
You're just all jacked up because you've seen the trailer for the rules at the
Ministry
ungentlemanly
of
warfare.
Yeah.
You know,
oh hell yeah! Oh my god!
Talking about getting wet for movies, you're positively
no kidding, man. Man, we're all going to be there opening night.
I don't do trailers, but all I saw was one picture of Henry Cavill's beard and mustache. I want to see that fucking movie.
Alan Ritchson just being gigantic, but he's got like tiny glasses.
Oh, he's got the tiny glasses. Boom.
Yeah. Little round boys.
It's got Dr. M'Benga from Star Trek Strange New World, so I'm 100% in. I'm like, we got Star Trek representation. Yeah. He was in Dune as well.
He's in Dune, I was about to say. Yeah. He's a great actor, that guy.
He's awesome. So
but
let's talk about that movie.
Yeah. No, we're talking about this movie because I like this movie. This is good.
Okay. It's a great movie. But again, it's just
yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's perfectly fine.
I just want to. Can you guys hear me? I just want to check.
Yeah.
Because as I banged the table.
Are you crying again? Yeah.
While banging the table, Zoom was like, "I've switched your microphone." I'm like, "Don't switch my."
No, you're good.
So even Zoom's like, "No, this movie sucks." No, you're wrong. You're all wrong.
It doesn't suck. It does
suck.
Not
suck.
Yeah, no. It does
it's
not.
A perfectly by the numbers, fine movie that is now that you say it, very just Disney. Just I don't know. Doesn't take any swings.
It's like
Jake Gyllenhaal's dad isn't a fucking alcoholic. Like in Radio Flyer, it beats the shit out of him.
Right.
Even his wife is like, I hope he dies. Like, why? But then he gets out.
I won't even shed a tear.
But then he gets out and she's like, oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah, just very strange. I mean, this movie, there were a couple weird things in this movie that kind of maybe took away from my enjoyment. I understand this is based on a true story, so this is probably accurate, but just him fanboying out over Werner von Braun,
wait a minute,
or von Braun, that's okay. I'm uncomfortable worshiping a Nazi rocket scientist.
Like he was fucking Willie Mays or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, I would have, if I were a producer of this movie, I'd be like, let's take some creative liberties and let's just make up a dude and not worship a Nazi rocket scientist.
Well, I would say
just for me.
I would say, I mean, I get your point, but you've got to think back that he was a hero of the US at the time. Like I said, Operation
Paperclip, a lot of Nazis.
Yeah, Operation Paperclip is something that is, is a bit of history that was definitely glossed over. And at the same time, it's more like, I mean, trust me, I mean, as a Brit as well, like, the Brits, we were getting hit with the V2 rockets, right? And that's designed by von Braun. Okay, these sort of things. But I also understand the idea of like when, Hitler's put a gun to your head that, okay, well, I'm just going to do my science. But at the same time, they were just scientists that they did want to go to the moon. I get your point, Will, but like, I never think of von Braun as like, as a Nazi. And you have to understand that like back then that he would do speeches. They'd show film in school. He was like almost like what's his name? The guy that wears the
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, right. The Bill Nye. He was.
Oh yeah.
Von Braun was like the science guy of that time.
Yeah. So that I get it because it is historically accurate. They're not making anything up to. This isn't Nazi propaganda. They're not trying to boast them or anything. But it was just a little uncomfortable, especially. But again, this movie's made like 25 years ago or something. But so
on your same point, I will bring up that when my children were younger, my son did like to watch Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse. And as such, you've got all the Mickey Mouse characters and you've got Donald Duck and stuff. And then you've got Donald Duck's like granddad or something. He's their mad scientist granddad who's also there. And I'm watching it. And his granddad, the mad scientist, and he's got all this stuff, has a German accent. And then I remember once I tweeted it, this is about 20 years ago, or was that 18 years ago? But well, it's actually about 13 because my children's age. But as I realized is that Donald Duck's grandfather was a Nazi scientist that was rescued during Operation Paperclip. It's the only thing that makes sense is why is his World War II aged grandfather German and a scientist? Oh my God, he's a Nazi! So just in case you didn't know that, next time you watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, ladies and gentlemen, notice that there's a Nazi.
Donald Duck canceled.
I did not see that coming. Yeah. Terrible.
He's a Nazi quack.
Cut that.
Hey!
Oh, yeah.
Hey!
God.
So there's that, and then the other thing that kind of made me uncomfortable in this movie. I come from a union family, a big pro unions. I really did not like Chris Cooper in this movie. I get that it's like, oh, he's a good dad and he does save people. At the same time, I was perplexed throughout the entire movie that he's like, why don't my kids want to come work in the mine where my buddies die all the time
all
and
the
they have
time.
no worker protections at all, and I'm nearly getting my eyes sliced off. Why don't you want to come work here? I'm like, you idiot, you dunce.
Homer's friend is like, oh, you don't know how his dad died? He got cut in half by a slab of fucking coal.
Cool.
Yeah. And the fact that he's so like, yeah, I want my son to come work here. I'm like, you suck, dude.
The
like,
coal is his corn.
Keeps
his house hot.
And just the fact that, again, I get it, it's historical, this is probably exactly how it happened, but it's not a very pro-union movie. The movie spends a lot of time being like, oh, the union's a problem here because it's cutting into our livelihoods. And so there's a little bit, watch this movie where I'm like, all right, fuck you.
Well, I think maybe, and again, I think I agree. Well, I get your point. I think maybe it's just trying to be reflective of the time because that's what was happening. It's kind of like,
I get it.
When the coal's running out and, the company, Chris Cooper's just trying to keep everybody employed, and it's like to try and save the town and try and save people's jobs. And I guess he's carrying that responsibility. But I think what they're just doing is adding elements of the time in to make us, to pull us into this time period.
Yeah, which I get, it just did not endear me to Chris Cooper's character. There was a lot of time in the movie where I'm like, all right, I'm done with this guy.
Well, I think you're supposed to feel
he's a huge idiot.
And it's almost like rewatching.
That's him in every movie.
You realize he's not necessarily like a bad dad. It's every time he does try to bond with his son, the mind collapses. It's like every time he's having a conversation. You know what, son? I do love. Oh, wait a minute. Phone rings. Gotta go, and it's like back out the door
again.
Yeah, God damn it.
If only my workers had some form of protection, but no way to do that.
I like Ryan. I mean, I was giggling because Ryan was live texting, watching it, and it was the bit where, where you said, "Oh, the guy gave luck." He goes, "He's dead." He gone. Even do a close up on the number. Hey, remember that number? That's gonna come into play later.
All the dialogue with him should have been like, "So you're gonna die in a few scenes, right?"
Sure, probably, yeah. Like, probably.
Well, it's all leading up to this. He's like, "Wait, what are you doing in the mines?" Like, make more money for my family. Well, I don't know. He's Foghorn Leghorn in this situation. He's very, very, very much a Russian spy. Let's be clear. Yeah, I gotta pay the rent. But no, he dies in like the next scene.
He does,
and he's the only one too. They lift the thing up. He's like, that guy sucked anyway. Get him out of here.
The only one who died is the only one we know as an audience.
Yeah, right. That's the only character who dies in this film, right?
Wait, Miss Riley is set up to die.
But you don't see it.
She has Hodgkin's lymphoma. You're like, but you didn't see it, so it doesn't.
Yeah. They didn't show it. I was cheating. Yeah.
If a person isn't obliterated in a movie, do they actually die?
Well, the thing is, I get your point. Is because they do set up tension of like missiles going wrong and exploding, or people should have been injured a lot more by these rockets.
When the black character, when he shows up and the rocket almost like zips through his fucking cheek, he like pushes his kid out of the way and dives onto the side. You're like, oh shit! Like I for sure thought like one of these boys was gonna get blowed up.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a train derailment. I thought there was going to be some tragic sort of thing, but no, it's all just it's fun.
I was just thinking of the final scene with the final triumphant rocket getting fired up, and the teacher is watching it from the hospital room, just picturing the rocket going off course.
I wanted to. I want someone. I was watching that. I wanted someone so badly to cut that scene of all of them like watching this rocket go up, and then it smash cuts to like the nuke in Oppenheimer. Just great.
Credits.
Dodgeball ending. Yes, exactly.
The thing is, it's. I mean, you got like a bit of an antagonist in the principal, a bit of an antagonist in Chris Cooper, and a bit of an antagonist in just is it Homer? Is that his name? Yeah, Homer. In Homer's just situation of being like, there comes a point where his dad gets injured, so the family needs someone to go down the mine. So he drops out of school because his brother's got he's going to go to college and get a full ride kind of thing. And so you've got that element of they've been blamed, the bit where they get arrested, they get blamed for a fire because they can't account for all of their missiles and this, that, and the other. But then they get saved by maths.
Oh my god, my favorite fucking scene in this movie. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, which one? Go for it.
God, so they it's you get this great montage of him and Shermanator working together to like, well, if it went up this high and there was the longitudinal force and all this fucking math, then they go on this quest to then find the rocket, right?
Stand
And
by
they
me.
go and yeah, it's great. Then they're like rummaging through the forest and they get to this river and Jake Gyllenhaal is like, well, wait a minute, we didn't account for the wind, so by my calculation, it should be right there. And this giant fucking rocket is sticking out like a foot away from them.
You are,
Come on, man.
you are
That
not
was
wrong,
so
but
fucking
that's
stupid.
also not how it went down.
Wow.
As in, it doesn't go down exactly like that, but that's not what goes down. The best bit, because you are so right, because I'm watching and I go, oh, Ryan's going to have a fucking field day with that. But
It's
he's not.
right
He's
there.
talking, he's washing his face, and while he's talking, he sees it and
okay.
finishes his sentence.
All right.
It's
okay,
not like...
okay. Because I must
I
have.
knew you would mention that.
I looked down at my phone for 2 seconds. And I thought it's so funny. Okay, so out of context, that's the funniest scene of the movie. In context, it's stupid and I hate it.
This movie's great. And then so they end up
This
win.
movie is great. It is great.
So the 4 kids end up winning a science fair, and as such get to go to nationals, and then they get to go to regional nationals and international, regional, bisexual regional nationals. Trust me, when you have children, this is everything is a goddamn competition that never ends. But no, they get to go to the national thing. Homer gets to go.
Did you say bisexual competition?
Yeah. Can we also for a second talk about how like in this sort of like it's are we in the 50s or something like that, right? Like late 50s. But the whole element of like, Mom, I'm like, they're all just building rockets in the basement. And they do a rocket test outside and it just blows up half the fence. And the mom's like, well, maybe do that somewhere else. Not like, don't do that anymore. And then like, they're just blowing up rockets. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to Indianapolis, you know, bye, just by themselves. You know what I mean? That just whole element of kids back then was just like, well, if you die, you die.
Yeah, we got another kid at home. We can lose one.
They had a third brother who was blown up in a rocket injury. They're like, well, no, one more time.
That's it. Well, I tell you what, though, they did take one of the Rocket Boys as an amalgamation of 2 in real life. I didn't realize that, but they cut a character out.
Rocket Boys?
They did an opposite of Logan Lucky. Instead of having too many characters, they took 2 characters and made them 1. So he does go to nationals. They do that little bit where they get he gets robbed. Where they steal his rocket nozzle.
My rockets.
They take his picture of Von Braun, which is like so. Then the town. I like the fact that the town is always there to support him. I like that the town is involved, and I like that last scene. Outside of the fact that he gets his dad over and finally gets his dad to love him.
Yeah.
But the fact that like when they're launching the missile or the rocket, sorry, for the town, it's for all of them an escape. You know what I mean? It's like.
It's the Friday Night Lights of rockets.
It is. There you
they
go.
They got fucking nothing else.
I'm still here. Don't worry. My camera has decided.
Oh, he's taking off on a rocket right now. Left.
But yeah, like this town has like nothing. I mean, because football season's over with, right? So like, I guess we're into rockets now.
Well, but again, you would imagine that time of like how the world was weird and scary because now the Soviets have put you can see. They've launched something, they're ahead, America's behind, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of stuff that's new. And then you've got these kids who are bright that are in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, are launching these rockets and doing things that other people can't do. And I think it's just like, like I said, the guys are giving very fair criticism to this movie for it just not being an Oscar-winning movie. But it's much like Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans, it's a great movie. Yeah. It does exactly what it says on the
by the numbers. Yeah.
It just goes A, B, C, D, credits. You're going to feel good about yourself.
There is a scene in this movie when they're trying to like petition for the fact that like, no, we didn't start the fire, Billy Joel. And they find they find that like other rocket and they're like, well, what the fuck is this? It's got these fins. And I was really hoping that the movie was going to take a turn and there was like
A rival rocket.
four rival boys and like
an
the
evil
the
rocket
next
team.
town, like yeah,
Yeah.
like
That frame them.
yeah, in Shelbyville, like just making
Yeah.
it's just like the polar
Yeah.
opposites. Like I was like, oh my god, give me that. Yeah, that'd be great. But no, it's like no. He's like this is. He picked it up and immediately this prick. It knew exactly what it was. It's like
Well,
nope,
the
it's a flare.
principal, he's like, oh, it's an aviation flare, and I think that's probably because his principal was probably in the war, considering the time frame. You know, so it's like
Sure.
it's cool. It's basically it's like if you're a nerd, you can do whatever. If you can just, I like the bit as well, like you know, of Homer's character. Little bit of like I said, he wasn't always the brightest kid, but then his teacher manages to find a book about like you know actual rocket math and re-entry sort of stuff, and he goes, she says, I'm sure it's like too common. He goes, oh, don't worry, I'll learn it. And it's like, you know, that's kind of the fun thing is
Yeah.
because, spoiler alert, is Homer goes on to work for NASA. He's involved in the shuttle launches. He was even involved on Twitter. I don't know. He was that guy. We went viral about 5 years ago. Some young lady got admitted
Was
to
he
the
Bean
NASA.
Dad?
No,
Was
no.
he-
Some
Oh,
young
okay.
some young NASA intern. She got accepted into the NASA intern sort of thing, and she went on Twitter and she's like, "Guess who got like accepted into NASA, motherfucker?" And Homer Hickam gets on Twitter and he goes, "Oh, you know, like maybe like you know, be watch your language kind of thing, or just be you know, sort of be careful." But she doesn't realize
Who the
who
fuck are
Homer
you?
Hickam
Yeah.
is, or that he's at NASA, and she goes, "Fuck you, Grandpa," and all this kind of shit. And she ended up losing her NASA. She didn't
Oh
get-
Well,
fuck.
and I was like, "That's
Now-
the guy from October Sky."
Now she's a Soviet spy. A fun game you can play during this movie is take a shot every time someone says Sputnik
Yeah, yeah, or coal.
because they do or coal. Yeah.
oh, if you
God.
do coal, you'll be dead. You'll
God.
wish you had black lung if that's your drink every time they mention coal.
Yeah.
But
My
I
God.
also like the cool part is that at the end of the movie, so they win. He wins the national thing, comes back. They got one more rocket to launch. His dad comes along. The music's playing, makes me cry. I'm like, hey, there we go. The rocket launches. Even Miss Riley sees it. She should have like the thing should have gone beep beep beep.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's so beautiful. It should have been like Ken Watanabe dying in The Last Samurai. Perfect.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
But as the credits start rolling, we get home film, actual film footage of these
That was
kids,
cool. Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
showing you what the West Virginia of it and showing you some of the actual launches and Cape Colward and all that kind of stuff. And it, you know, it goes on and it goes, and it does that thing that Ryan, you've said you like movies doing, tells you what happens afterwards. It's like Miss Riley
Because keep in mind,
died.
I haven't paid attention for the whole thing, so I need that last bit of
Right.
credits to
So it's
tell
a
me
little
what I
bit
was
of a
supposed to
bummer.
watch.
It goes, Miss Riley dies, the mine closed, but all four Rocket Boys went to college, and then yeah, Homer eventually going on to work at NASA, which it's a cool story.
Yeah.
I'm going to give credit that the story of Homer Hickam is a cool story to go from, like I said, he's supposed to go work in the mines of West Virginia, ends up sending people to space. That's a cool story, and I
And
like.
he
What's
had
the
kind of an
story?
interesting
Follow your dreams? Yeah, I mean, of course. Sure.
Well, he had kind of an interesting life because not only did he do all that, but he served in Vietnam, right? Like he was actually like I forget what rank he was, but maybe captain like throughout Vietnam, and then wrote like my understanding is wrote like fiction like action novels and stuff like Tom
I'm
Clancy
looking, yeah, so
style.
he had a literary career, a military career. He was in NASA. What an interesting dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting life for sure.
Yeah. Well,
He
there you
wrote
go.
the book that George McFly reads with the spaceman on it.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that a thing?
I mean, there's, you know, any other comment about this movie? Because I said, I brought this movie, I thought, I mean, did you guys enjoy it? That's the thing. Did you actually, I mean, so Will did it over 2 days. Ryan, what about you? Did you find anything?
I mean, no, I mean, it's, like I said, am I going to rush out to watch this movie again? No. And up until yesterday, I'd never even seen it before. So it's like I keep saying, it's a perfectly watchable by the numbers movie that is enjoyable, but it's not, wasn't for me. I don't know. Didn't really like,
Interesting. All right.
didn't blow my
Yeah.
rockets up.
Yeah.
There are better rocket movies you could watch.
Mhm.
There are, I mean, well, today, I mean, these are 3 good movies. It was a good week, but I think as far as the argument about which is the best movie, it's not even close because one of these movies goes into orbit while the other ones blow up on the launch pad. Is that Tucker and Dale versus Evil? is
Mhm.
without a doubt the best of the three movies.
Yeah.
Oh
agreed.
yeah.
But this is not what we decide here. It's not about which one's the best. It's about which one's the most West Virginia. And I'm sorry, but like I said, even though shot in Calgary, shot in North Carolina, shot in Tennessee, doesn't matter. West Virginia hillbillies, West Virginia hillbillies, and West Virginia hillbillies.
With
It's
rockets.
just actual hillbillies, heist hillbillies, and rocket hillbillies.
Rocket hillbillies.
So
Mhm.
like
That-
and like, you know, so you've got October Sky, you've got the town, the coal town, the train, the people working in the mine, the element, the time, the way, the walking. Logan Lucky, you've got the more modern take on West Virginia and who they are, and they've got like the song, but John Denver had never really been there, but it's like we're still middle of nowhere, but we're still smart, even though we'll lack hillbillies, we still can put stuff together. And Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Just run of the mill nice guys that just happen to be hillbillies. They like to drink. beer,
And Tucker
go
Dale
fishing.
could have been set in any like southern adjacent area. Like
Oh,
could have
it could have
you
even
know,
been in like Flagstaff, Arizona. Like it's it's not even like
should have been. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd say Blue Mountains, sort of Appalachia. I think, you know, there. I know it's not just West Virginia. You know, you've got other states sort
Yeah,
of
true.
down there that got that element of
Mhm.
Tennessee, and like, you know, just this feel. I'd say that it could have been Appalachia. It could have been, you know, it's Tucker and Dale is very Deliverance adjacent.
The only bit about it being in West Virginia is like the title thing in the beginning, right? Doesn't it just say like somewhere West Virginia? Right?
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
It's
Right. Yes. I mean,
Do you even
yeah,
see West Virginia on the police officers thing?
is there a
That's
how I
shot
know.
of a license plate in the first 5 seconds? Doesn't count.
Yeah.
But no, I'd say like is that yes, I get what you're saying about the certain generics of where it could have been,
Yeah.
you know, but at the same time, it's not. It is West Virginia, and like it does lean into just that sort of hillbilliness of it. I'm not ready to push Tucker and Dale off to the side yet. I'm
Okay.
still it's for me it's a 3-horse race still until someone can give me a compelling argument as to the other. Someone go on, someone pick this up and run with it.
Well, like we said, Logan Lucky's got the song in it, so that's my argument. And
it's
it's
got
I forgot what
song.
movie it's from, but you know, it's in there. It's in there. And I like you. I remember like that song, for whatever reason, for me, mentally ends the movie.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
after that, nothing fucking happens.
No,
I mean, a
I
lot of
agree.
things happen, but for me, it doesn't. I don't pay
20-something
Yeah.
minutes of movie that are
But-
relevant. But there's
but
lots of
I'd-
shots of the West Virginia sign.
Sure, they say it
That's
a
true.
lot, but like, I mean, I don't know. For me, it's up against Logan Lucky and October Sky, just because the importance and the history and
yeah.
the fucking just sheer lameness of it. Not West Virginia, the movie. Just like,
I know, you're just beating up on another movie that Ollie likes. You guys are
and I like this movie. It's just
This podcast is turning up into the long form bullying of Ollie Pettigrew.
The real plan emerges. I gotta say, for me, it's actually it's not a very close race. For me, it is October Sky because, like I said, you can't stuff any more West Virginia into it.
Mhm.
It is so like you prick it with a little pin and
Yeah.
it just explodes West Virginia all over you, much like a
Yeah,
rocket.
you need someone to bite into a piece of coal like it's an apple.
That's what I was saying.
Yes,
It's like
that was the
everyone just
only
needs to be-
thing it's missing.
If people were
That'd be great.
chewing on coal the entire time was the only way. It's like
Yeah.
instead of like in Interstellar where everyone's eating corn.
There is
Yeah.
there is a bit in the very beginning because I was looking through our text, like I was like 6 minutes in. You've got the rent guy, and then 6.5 minutes later, you have a guy with coal soot like all over his face, and I'm like, oh, this is a Disney movie.
It's songs of the South too.
I was like, oh boy.
Oh man.
And then it cuts right to the Sherman era. I'm like, you son of a bitch, I'm back in.
I
So-
was surprised there wasn't a scene where they're all at the dinner table and like, why aren't you eating your coal, boy?
Exactly.
I don't want it, Dad.
It's just a bowl of coal with like milk.
You gotta have your coal flakes.
Yeah. God. That's like such a Simpsons bit, you know?
Yeah.
Like what was it? Because it was again, this is like Shelbyville versus Springfield. Like they have the lemons, but they have the beets, and they're just making
Yeah.
juice.
Why will we marry our cousins? Well, because they're so dang pretty. Yeah.
Shelbyville, also in West Virginia.
Oh, hang on.
Yes.
We didn't talk about, we said we were going to, in October Sky, there is the strange C plot of
Yakety sax.
yeah, don't talk back. Second time in a row. Is the fact that Homer has got eyes for this pretty girl that kind of hangs out with the football team, but then he starts launching rockets and the pretty girl looks in his general direction and he's not seeing again, she's just, I suppose she's supposed to be a bit more plain. She's still very pretty, but like, it's just, there's the pretty girl and the not quite as pretty girl. And I forget which one he ends up with because it's so fucking irrelevant to this movie.
Yeah, it's the one who gives the hand jobs
to it.
But and then like he's like, oh, they go to the dance, or they're just like all drunk at a bar, like these young kids. It's crazy. I guess the 50s, am I right? But then he sees like the pretty girl walk in. He's like, oh hell yeah, I can finally like ask this girl out. And he walks up and she's like with his brother.
Right.
And then you think they're gonna have like fight it out. He's like, good job, man.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I haven't been able to see sort of anything about it, but the idea of like, was that just the guy, the lady that Homer ended up with in real life, and they ended up getting married? Because
I guess, yeah.
Why that was in the movie? It's almost like it's that same studio guy that said you got to call it October Sky because no woman wants to see a movie about Rocket Boys. If you don't put in a love triangle, women aren't gonna watch this movie. Spoiler alert: women weren't gonna watch this movie anyway. You know, like, that's
Did they do the same thing in Remember the Titans?
Sorry?
Did they do the same thing in Remember the Titans?
There's
the romantic thing with the two football players.
Yeah. Yeah.
That counts.
You know what's funny? I wonder if this is like maybe something where Homer, the real guy, asked them to insert like a plot. Like, can you have it be like a bunch of girls walking?
By the way, I used to fuck.
Yeah.
Like sort of like if you remember the Fablemans, there's that whole like that character gets like a girlfriend and stuff, and then it came out like a bunch of his old high school classmates came up and be like, he didn't date anyone in high school. Like totally threw Spielberg under the bus and he had made that up. I wonder if this is the same thing. Which not cool, Spielberg just classmates.
Crying totally into his $100 bills.
That was so funny. His high school bullies one last time be like, he didn't date anyone. That guy was a loser the whole time.
He's a fucking nerd then, and he's a nerd now.
I
have to picture him like Spielberg going to his like high school reunion and then still getting stuffed into lockers or something.
Yeah, that same guy beats him up again. You said you were going to put it in a movie.
So this is interesting. Is that this movie received criticism from the Christian Century and from the Christian Science Monitor. The Christian Century describes the film's concentration on the father-son relationship at times painful to watch, not for the same reason as you guys. But here you go. There are no winners or losers when sons go their separate ways. So it's like sons should do what their fathers tell them to do. And then the other one from the Christian Science Monitor is worshipping Werner von Braun as an all-American icon with no acknowledgement of his Nazi Germany career.
See? There you go.
Oh, I forgot. I wrote for the Christian Examiner for a while.
Oh yeah, that was written. There you go.
I forgot.
Christian, it's your brother, Marvin. You gonna want to see these rockets, man. You got to come check out these rocket boys.
God, okay. Here you go. All right. This might back up Will's kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot what we were doing.
Is that there are 2 annual festivals in honor of the Rocket Boys and the film. One is held in West Virginia, where the real-life events depicted in the book took place, and the other is in Tennessee, where the movie was actually shot. The Rocket Boys often visit the festival in West Virginia.
Okay.
I think in this particular case, maybe that might.
Yeah.
I think
kind of like the giant spider invasion. It's pretty much the exact same thing.
Exactly. The thing is,
the giant spiders show up to the screening.
I genuinely would have thought I'd go tooth and nail fighting that Will would have done anything possible for Tucker and Dale to be the winner. Because I mean, I figured it's such a good movie. I think it's just wall to wall. I mean, you can't.
No. That's not what we do here.
These movies are balls deep as far as like, you know,
fact-based and science-driven. much like October Sky, which I admit is a movie.
I will give it that.
I mean, I got to give it to
Ah.
October Sky. It's like, I don't want to because it wasn't the most enjoyable watch for me. That said, it's still a good movie. I stand by that. I would love to give it to Tucker and Dale, but I think this definitely feels most West Virginia.
All right, I'm with you. We're going to do it. We're going to pull the plug on it right now and say that officially here at the United States of Movie, the movie to represent West Virginia for all time, or at least until we come back around in season 2, is the movie October Sky, 1999, as we said, directed by Joe Johnston. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal, Chris Cooper, Laura Dern. It is not available to stream anywhere. We had to pay to rent this movie, and the guys were thrilled about that. Let me tell you. So there we go. Stamp. Boom. October Sky. But that means that next time around, guys, we're just going to have to come up with some better movies. And there were quite a few other movies we were circling. Do you guys remember any of them? I know that one of them was, Ryan, you were mentioning was We Are Marshall.
Yeah, that popped up on my list. I'd never seen it, and the premise seemed pretty cool. And plus, it's got Matthew McConaughey in it, famous for being on this podcast. But you talked me back into Logan Lucky, you son of a bitch. Which I think I enjoyed. I don't remember.
There's one that I circled, and I didn't do it because while it is a film, it is a documentary film. And it's The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, which is one of the first things I ever bought on iTunes because a buddy of mine was like, we've got to watch this. It's insane. Made me buy it. I did watch it. It is very good. I think it would almost be unfair, an unfair fight. It would be like the three of us like trying to take on Tyson at his peak, because the amount of West Virginia in that movie is unmatched. I mean, it is a full-on like documentary about this. It is so West Virginia. It is crazy. It feels a little bit like a whole movie that is the Kentucky scene from Next of Kin.
Oh wow! Yeah. A lot of deer heads and refrigerators.
Yes, lots of that. But there are any other? I mean, because there were lots of these wrong turn movies.
Every wrong turn movie, sure. Apparently, Hidden Figures is on that list.
Well, that's kind of because they're also in Houston, aren't they? So that's why I was unsure about Hidden Figures, because I love that movie. Super 8.
Yeah, Super 8 was on there.
I'm amazed we didn't bring that one. American Ultra. I think that's a movie. Have you guys seen that one?
I
enjoyed that movie.
I think I saw that in the theater too.
It was a good movie. I thought it was good.
Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. Sure.
Oh, quick story about that.
Yeah.
I was working at the movie theaters when that movie came out. I am not lying. I had at least 20 women ask me, like, because I was working like behind the box office, how do I enter this contest? And they were not joking.
So, well, you give me your phone number, and Will cleaned up that night.
all of them much older ladies. They were not young ladies, and I was like, all right,
but still ladies.
Everybody wanted a date with Tad Hamilton,
a character who is a high schooler, by the way.
Is that Josh Duhamel? Or
I was about to say, isn't that the
Timothy
guy that
Oliphant?
Everybody thinks I live?
I was gonna say it's Oliphant, right? Yeah.
Timothy OnlyFans. Yep.
Timothy OnlyFans. So yeah, there's
an X-Files movie.
The second one, which wasn't
not a good X-Files.
Devil All the Time. I don't know.
That one is good. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should pick that one. That's a good one.
The Devil All the Time.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I think next time around, I'll probably go down the Super 8 route.
There's also the
Mothman Prophecies as well. I mean, so the thing is,
that's the Mothman of Point Pleasant pops up, but is the original on there?
There's the Richard Gere one, which is 2002.
Silent Hill, sure,
yeah. So there are
movies.
West Virginia's got there's movies out there that I think we can maybe take out October Sky with you. No, October Sky is going to be.
Fingers crossed. Tucker and Dale Go to Yale comes out between now and next season.
Yes,
or it's already been made and we just have to wait another 3 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's been shelved for 8 years. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, look, that was a good week. I enjoyed. Like I said, this is such a fun project to do because it keeps pushing me into movies that I probably wouldn't have got into, or wouldn't have rewatched, or never would have seen in the first place. I thought this was a fun week because I'd seen all of these movies.
If anything, it keeps me. It keeps giving me movies to destroy that you love. So that's really keeping me going, man.
Just destroying my childhood little by little, piece by piece. Which is,
and you
just
can't do
makes-
that to me because I love nothing.
I hold nothing dear whatsoever. You can't take me.
I am nourished by your hatred.
Grows more powerful every week.
And more hillbilly, apparently.
So we've taken out West Virginia. Okay, I can draw a line through this one. There we go. We still have many states to go. However, next weekend is a big weekend in America. It's one they all get together to worship a very famous bird, an owl, a superb owl. Now, of course, if you put those words together to make another two words, it's something that I can't say, or technically can't say, because I'll probably get sued. Because I know when I worked on television, I couldn't say anything about a bowl, that you eat stuff out of, and whether or not it's very super or not. So in this case, it's going to be a superb owl special. We're going to do the superb owl special, where we're going to try and find the ultimate American
Owl
football movie. The greatest,
Which is,
owl
of
movie.
course, Guardians of Gahul.
The Guardians of
That's
Gahul.
Wait, isn't there a Zack? Is that the Zack Snyder one?
Zack
It sure
Snyder
is.
produced kind of thing. He didn't like.
Owl
He
movie?
directed it.
He did
Right?
direct
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
He
Well, there's a lot of violence in it.
he co-directed it. I
And
think.
tits.
Like the owl tits, yeah. The
Just
Owls
hot
of
owls.
Gahul. The Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Gahul.
I should have said Hooters. It was right there. God damn it. God damn it.
It is
Take it
directed
back.
by
Cut
Zack
that,
Snyder.
cut that. Yeah, yeah.
That's a really good-looking movie, actually. I will give that movie a lot of credit. Mrs. She said she'll never go to Hooters, the restaurant, until they invent. And I told her she should just do it. But the men's version called Peckers, Woodpeckers. Yeah, I'm like, that's actually
Oh, yeah,
genius
yeah.
idea, and I actually want to go to that restaurant. That'd be amazing. All right, guys. So this week
They
we've
only serve
taken
hot
out.
dogs.
Thank you for the hillbillies. We're going to take a break
Yeah.
from hillbillies for 1 week. We're going to get into people smashing into each other and giving themselves concussions while
yeah.
no doubt doing drugs and driving cars, because it's time to get into the world of American football, figure out which movie out there is the ultimate American football movie. We'll want to hear about what movies you think we should be doing for this. In fact, I'll be asking that question, and you can find me talking about movies and this movie podcast every Monday on my social media. You can find me as Ollie Pettigrew on Facebook, or That Englishman in Texas everywhere else. You can also find Will. Will loves to talk about movies on his TikTok entitled Millennial. I appreciate, Will, that you've brought back From the Shelf. I do enjoy From the Shelf. Where Will go into his massive Blu-ray collection and pick a random movie you've never heard of and talk about it and recommend it to you.
Oh, hell
So
yeah.
it's always a good time. It teaches you something about movies. Ryan, he likes to create random t-shirts, much like the one I'm wearing, the Wraith t-shirt. You can get some other funny fake movies and things. The Adventures of Puss Man t-shirt I would recommend,
yeah,
which is
Jesus
an amazing
Christ.
Will Hurst
Yes.
t-shirt.
That's going to get my Etsy store closed.
You can find him on Etsy, on Threadless, on all those kind of things as Rhino Digital,
And
RY.
this week, you can actually find me Googling, what is football?
And you can join us next week to see and figure out whether Ryan figures out what football is, but also to get into it, talk about American football, and find out which American football movie is the ultimate one, at least until next season. So from me, Ryan, and Will, thank you for us. If you're watching us on YouTube, please drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Send it to someone that you know that likes movies. Get together and watch some of the movies that we've been talking about. Tell a friend. And help grow our podcast.
Send it to someone you know who hates movies.
Yeah. And then just take apart their favorite movies and make them cry secretly at night, much like I do. If you are listening to us on Ryan has inadvertently set off fireworks in celebration with a double thumbs up. You get
That's
fireworks.
my new one. Apparently.
Wow.
No, do it again. Do it again. That was amazing.
Ah.
We've only got the budget for one episode.
I just blew my rocket sauce. Wait, edit that out.
Well, then, to all of us at home that listen to this podcast, thank you very much. Do us a favor, like, comment, give us a rating. Find us on our Facebook page, The United States of a Movie. Find us on our Reddit, The United States of a Movie. But from all of us here, we want to again thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and joining us here on the United States of a Movie podcast.